This is a lie that's been used by Barton for a very long time, and one that has become more and more blatant over the years. He used to just say that half the signers of the Declaration had seminary degrees, counting on his audience not knowing that the word seminary, as it was used in the days of the founders, just meant a school. In fact, in Webster's 1828 dictionary, the definition of seminary doesn't even mention religion. Webster's definition was, quote, any school, academy, college, or university in which young persons are instructed in the several branches of learning which may qualify them for future employments. But of course, the almost exclusive use of the word seminary today to mean a theological seminary allowed Barton and the others who picked up on his little trick to just let their audiences assume that half the signers of the Declaration having seminary degrees meant that half the signers of the Declaration were ministers. In reality, only one of the 56 signers, John Witherspoon, was a minister, not 29 of them. There were two others, William Williams and Robert Tree Payne, who did study for the ministry at some point in their educations, but neither of them ended up becoming a minister. Williams studied theology under his clergyman father for a while after graduating from Harvard College, but he ended up becoming a merchant. And Payne, who was expected by his family to become a minister because it was sort of the family business, also began to study theology after graduating from Harvard College, but gave it up to become a merchant and then later a lawyer. And while the colleges and universities that the founders went to were founded by religious denominations and did offer divinity degrees, almost all of their graduates among the signers of the Declaration had studied either law or business. A few had a general education before going on to either study law privately or return to their farms, and two studied medicine. What Barton is doing is the equivalent of saying that if someone today gets a computer science degree from a Christian college, then they're a minister. In his presentation, this half the Declaration signers being ministers thing is Barton's lead in to pointing out and quoting some of the most Christian-sounding snippets from the personal writings of the most religious among them, following each of these quotes with a sarcastic, well, that sounds kind of Christian to me, or that doesn't sound like an atheist, does it? Never failing to get a big sanctimonious laugh from his audience. But while most of these Christian quotes that Barton uses come from the personal writings of these men, and of course say nothing about their opinions on government, Barton does work in a few official documents, such as the peace treaty that ended the Revolutionary War.
The next year, 1783, we signed the peace treaty that secures what they had announced 7 years earlier in the Declaration. The four guys on the screen there, the guy halfway off the screen on the right is David Hartley. Coming across from right to left, you have the three Americans, Ben Franklin, John Adams, and John Jay. They signed the treaty. You can see the original treaty in Washington, D.C., State Department. You can take a tour. Go up on the 6th floor, John Quincy Adams State Drawing Room. You see the tour. Here's the four wax seals. David Hartley, the British ambassador, John Adams, Ben Franklin, John Jay. There's 10 articles in the treaty, but look at the title of the treaty. In the name of the most holy and undivided Trinity. That kind of sounds Christian to me, just slightly. And yet we're told, oh no, all the founding fathers were atheists and agnostics and deists. And the document that secures what they announced in the Declaration, they said in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost, in the name of the most holy and undivided Trinity. Why would they do that?
And the phrase "in the name of the most holy and undivided Trinity" at the top of the treaty with Great Britain, which Barton ridiculously calls the title of the treaty, was just the customary salutation that England and some of the other Christian nations of Europe began their treaties and official documents with. It's not the title of the treaty, and Ben Franklin, John Adams, and the other agents of the United States who signed it had nothing to do with this wording. What were they going to do? Not sign the thing because England stuck its standard nod to the Trinity at the top of it? The United States actually signed two other treaties that open with these Trinity acknowledgments. A treaty with Sweden and Norway in 1816, and the 1822 convention that settled a dispute over an article in the Treaty of Ghent that had ended the War of 1812. But none of the treaties drafted by the United States opened by acknowledging the Trinity. These acknowledgments only appear in treaties that were drafted by the agents of other governments and then signed by the United States, when it was the other way around and treaties with these same nations were written by agents of the United States government, they contained no such acknowledgments or any other religious language. Now, another staple of every Barton presentation is the lie that I mentioned earlier about Congress printing a Bible in 1782 for the use of schools.
Let me jump ahead 5 years. Let me jump to the end of the American Revolution. The final battle in the American Revolution is the Battle of Yorktown. The British laid down their arms, which meant we're finally out from under the laws of the kings. Great British law doesn't control us anymore. The significance of that is one of the British laws had said that if you live in America, you cannot print a Bible in the English language in America. We had an established church, and whatever the king was, that's what we used. He's a Catholic, we'll use a Catholic Bible. He's an Anglican, we'll use an Anglican Bible. But whatever it is, he'll tell us which one to use. You cannot print a Bible in English language in America. It's illegal. Now, we printed a lot of Bibles in America. John Eliot printed Bible 1661. He's an apostle of the Indians, but he printed that Bible in the Massachusetts Indian language. We printed Bibles in Massachusetts Indian language, Cherokee, Ojibwe, Shawnee. We printed in French and Italian and Russian and Spanish and Greek and Latin. You name it, we printed it, but we had never printed a Bible in English until after we whipped the British at Yorktown. Now, having done that, we're out from under the laws, and so we can do that. So within a month of what happened at Yorktown, the first proposal is made to print the first English language Bible in America. It rolls off the presses in September of 1782, and when it rolled off the presses, there were 20,000 copies that were printed. Now, today there's only 29 copies left in the world. I've been very blessed. I have an original copy. Library of Congress has one. One of the rarest books in the world is called the Bible of the Revolution. This is what it looks like. And that Bible printed in 1782, you know who printed the first English language Bible in America? The Congress of the United States printed it. Congress did. Why would the Founding Fathers print a Bible? They tell you why they printed the Bible. It's in the records of Congress. It's in the front of the Bible. They said that this Bible is, quote, a neat addition of the Holy Scriptures for the use of our schools, end quote. Whoa! I thought the Founding Fathers didn't want the Bible in schools. That's what we've been taught in the last several decades. You know, the first time ever we took the Bible out of American schools was by a Supreme Court decision called Avenue versus Shem, June the 25th of 1963. For 360 years before that, we kept the Bible in schools. The last 40 years, we've had it out, and somehow we think that's the way it's always been. Not so. Matter of fact, here's the original congressional document. You can read it. A neat addition of the Holy Scriptures for the use of schools. This Bible even has a congressional endorsement in the front. Resolved, the United States and Congress assembled recommend this edition of the Bible to the inhabitants of the United States.